my kids or or families that bring young kids, those kids always make a bigger mess than dogs actually do. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining another episode of STR Success. So, for today's episode, we're actually going to talk about pets at short term rentals, specifically dogs. Usually, people aren't really looking to bring cats to a short term rental. It's only happened once over a few thousand guests that we've hosted. But I do want to talk about dogs. Now, dogs are interesting, right? Before you have a short term rental, it can sort of be taboo or just you might not really be interested in hosting any pets at your home. Usually, the initial fear is around things getting damaged or broken at the house. What I will share, especially since COVID, that in any driving market destination, at least for a home that has less than 6 bedrooms, allowing dogs at your home is a major, major benefit. And I mean, we find at least 30 to 40% of our renters at least ask if they can bring their dog. And we'll get into some of the decisions we make when we screen for pets in just a minute. But a lot of people do want to bring their pet to the property. They do want to have it with them. I think a lot of that started during COVID. I mean, it certainly was present before COVID, a way to stand out and differentiate. But I found even more so now, people really, really want to bring their dog. So, and part of that, there's a few reasons. The first is they're used to working from home and having their pet with them nearly 24/7. So that's one of the reasons. So there's an emotional attachment. The other is these days, money is tight. People are spending a lot of money to go on vacation, and dog boarding is really, really expensive. So a lot of times people might have to decide if they cannot bring their dog and it has to go to a boarding center, or if they can't have somebody come by and take care of the dog, they may have to make the decision of shortening their vacation because they actually can't afford to stay any longer. And so what I've found is for homes that are in driving destination and non-luxury property, people will if you don't allow dogs, you'll tend to get shorter lengths of stay, and then you certainly won't get the same volume of renters, especially not out of the gate, as you would if you were to allow dogs. So what is sort of that differentiating line, or where does it not really matter if you allow dogs or not? Well, I find if it's a flying destination, like say Orlando, Florida, for example, you probably don't have to allow dogs or even really consider that. Reason being is not a lot of people are flying with their pets, and that's a market that people do fly to get to. However, most driving destinations, so a lot of our houses are up in Cape Cod, all the way up through Maine, New Hampshire, and Vermont. And in those areas, it does make sense to allow dogs, with the exception of if the home has 6 bedrooms or more. There's not a lot of data to support properties with that number of bedrooms allowing dogs that helps get bookings, mainly because they already stand out because of how many people they can sleep. So there's not a lot of competition. The other one are the beachfront homes that are ultra luxury, like really, really nice properties, average daily rate of well over $1,000 a night. There's one of those that we have that we do not allow dogs at, and it has not slowed down bookings in the least bit. So generally speaking, if the home is going to be considered an investment or you're struggling to get bookings, allow dogs at the property. You will not regret it. What I do find is that my kids or or families that bring young kids, those kids always make a bigger mess than dogs actually do. And it's funny, we don't really realize that in the moment, but that's been my observation over now several dozen properties that we own and manage, and then in our own personal properties as well. So, how can you prepare for dogs, right? So, what's the screening look like, and how can you prepare for it so it becomes an amenity that you as the owner don't have to stress about and can actually enjoy because your revenue is going up? First, let's talk about the screening. So, at our properties, we do not allow dogs that are below 2 years old. We mainly do that because we want the puppy energy to be out of the system. And we do ask guests to crate their dogs when they're not home. It's impossible to know for sure if they actually follow that rule or not. But at least if the dog is less than 2 years old, I'm less concerned of damage being done to the home itself. The next thing is, and this is more more of a rule from our insurance company, but they actually have 14 different breeds that they restrict, that they don't allow at the home. And this is both for the homes we co-host as well as the homes that we own. The reason for that, and I'm not sure how many people knew this, is in the event of a dog bite. So breeds that they would consider to be aggressive breeds, they do not allow at the home. And if there's a dog bite, so you have a renter at your home, that dog goes and bites a passing neighbor, for example, that neighbor is going to then sue that guest sometimes. That's what could happen. So what ends up happening? Well, when they go to sue that guest, the suing lawyer is actually going to go after that renter. That renter likely won't have enough capital to cover what they're being sued for. So what ends up happening is that lawyer then goes after the homeowner's insurance of the renter themselves. If that renter does not own a home, they're not going to have homeowners insurance. So then what's going to happen is it's going to get back on your plate as the homeowner of this rental home, and they're going to try and sue you to get a certain amount. So, could that end up happening? Yes. Would it? Likely not. So, what are some things you can do to actually protect yourself? Well, if you do dog screening and you ask the guest, what breed do you have? And is there a bite history? You ask that, they share the breed with you, and then you can either say, yes, that's allowed, it's not on our banned list, or no, that's not allowed. Having that discussion and making sure it's documented in the OTA, so Airbnb or VRBO or your direct booking through email, some sort of exchange. If a bite then happens, you are not considered negligent because you've done your due diligence. If they decide to not listen to you at that point, well, that's on them, but at least you've done your part. You're not negligent, and you likely won't have to go through any of the legal challenges that could arise. Has this happened to us ever? No, it hasn't. We've always allowed dogs, but we didn't realize the breed restrictions until maybe just a couple of years ago. So it's really important to track that. A few other things that are sort of important to note is that in our properties, it's not great, obviously, to have a lot of carpet and a lot of rugs and different things like that. Occasionally, dog paws and things like that can have dirt on them. I don't find it to be terribly common. And anytime we've had anything like that pop up, our cleaners have been great about just shampooing the rug or getting it out. It's definitely not a very common thing. A few other things we will generally offer is, guests really love when the experience of their dog is great. So it's not a bad idea to offer like a dog bowl. So if in case they forgot theirs, they don't use like a regular bowl for drinking water, eating food, stuff like that. At least at the houses we own, those couches are like they're a fabric material. So we'll always Scotch guard those couches, spray them down with Scotch guard, and then we'll also provide couch covers to put on the couches, and we let guests know that they are there just in the event that like the dog jumps up on the couch for any reason. It's not going to go and get dirty. It again, it's not encouraging pets onto the furniture, but it's at least offering something in case it happens. So these are a lot of the ways we found to be able to protect the homes against dogs. And other than some extra cleaning at some of the houses on occasion, I think one time we had a window blind that was like chewed on by a dog. I think this was 4 or 5 years ago at our house in Cape Cod. And other than that, we quite honestly have never had any issues from any dog at any of our properties. I do find that the owners are pretty good about cleaning up like their dog waste and making sure that finds its way into the trash. And we've never had any complaints from neighbors or anything like that about dogs barking like consistently or anything like that. So encourage owners, if they're dog owners, if they're going to bring their dog, that, there's some ground rules and that you'd like them to respect the neighborhood and the home. I do think it's a really great way, like a really, really great lever to make more money, rank higher on Airbnb and VRBO because people are looking for that, and to just continue to offer a really great guest experience. So with that, I'm going to pause, kind of just shared a lot there. I'd love to see if there's any questions we can answer relating to dogs and allowing dogs in your property. All right. I don't see any. A couple other things, though, just that you can offer a guest or to improve, sort of stand out if you're going to allow dogs. Sometimes offering a dog bed, one where the cover can easily be taken off and put into your washing machine and dryer in between a turnover, not a bad idea, could be an interesting way to attract more guests. Leaving like dog waste bags. So, in the event that an owner forgets theirs, forgets bags for that, having those readily available at the house is a really great way to make sure that that dog waste gets cleaned up. No one steps in it. Sometimes leaving dog treats can be really helpful too. I mean, owners just seem to really love that. I find that dog owners love their dogs just as much as parents love their kids. So, again, if you can make that experience really great, both for like owners and guests, owners and the dogs and the kids, it can go a long way. Other times, things like having a fully fenced in yard, not only does that help both with dogs, but it also helps with kids and families and things like that. So, these are a couple of the amenities you can start to think of if you want to go down the road of allowing pets, particularly if you're in a driving market. So, with that, I'm Dave Menapace, president of the Five Star Co host and Consulting. For those that don't know, we co host properties all the way up through New England. We do a lot of consulting for people too. So, how to get your home pet friendly and then properly market it to homeowners that have pets without losing sort of the touch and feel of the classiness of the home. All that is stuff we do. We do launch consulting, help owners go from having no listings to building out their listings, learning how to use all these tools, learning how to do these dog screenings, pricing appropriately for having dogs, learning how to manage all that. We set all that stuff up. We'd love to work with people and help them. And with that, make sure to always tune in every Thursday at 3 o'clock for this show. And we also do Hassle Free RE podcast with episodes now coming out every Monday. And if you want to buy a house, make sure to give Will a call, Will Van Wickler of Keller Williams. He'll be able to help you on the short term rental front pretty much across New England. And with that, hope everyone has a great day.